The command ship shuddered as the phenomenon spread toward them, systems failing in cascading waves. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in crimson as panicked crew members abandoned their posts. Lyrax remained at the command console, mandibles clicking rapidly, the Zentari equivalent of a racing pulse. "Retreat," she ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "All remaining vessels, maximum thrust away from the anomaly." The remaining ships pivoted sharply, their massive engines flaring brilliant against the void. But the phenomenon moved faster, expanding like ripples in a pond. One by one, the rearguard vessels disappeared, not with explosions or the screaming of torn metal, but with an eerie silence that somehow felt more terrifying than any violent end. Sub-Commander Vex approached, her exoskeleton trembling slightly. "Commander, sensor logs indicate the forward fleet hasn't been destroyed. Energy signatures continue, but elsewhere. As if they've been moved." Lyrax's compound eyes narrowed as she processed this information. The Zentari Imperium had conquered 12 systems across 3 sectors of space, their military technology unmatched among known species. Yet here, at this backwater planet, something had casually brushed aside their might like insects from a table. "Preparing emergency transmission to High Command," announced the communications officer, her voice unnaturally steady amid the panic. "Quantum entanglement channel active in 3, 2. The view screen flickered, showing the unmistakable silhouette of Grand Admiral Kivex, his carapace bearing the golden markings of the Imperial Council. His voice rasped through the speakers. "Commander Lyrax, explain your retreat." Lyrax straightened, instinct demanding proper military bearing even as death approached. "Admiral, we've encountered an unknown defense system. The forward fleet is gone. Not destroyed, but relocated. We're facing technology beyond anything in our records." The Grand Admiral's mandibles twitched in disbelief. "Impossible. Human technological development is precisely charted. They have no capacity for." The transmission cut abruptly as the shimmer reached the command vessel. Lyrax felt a strange sensation. Not pain, but a profound disorientation, as if reality itself had become elastic. The ship's artificial gravity fluctuated, sending crew members floating momentarily before slamming them back to the deck. "Commander," Vex called out, pointing to the view screen. "Look." Where Earth had been moments before, an unfamiliar star system now filled their view. A binary pair of orange-yellow suns orbited by what appeared to be a lush, habitable planet. Sensor readings confirmed breathable atmosphere, abundant water, and terrain compatible with Zentari physiology. Lyrax felt something she had never experienced in her 60 cycles of military service: genuine awe. Whatever had transported them had done so with precision, selecting a destination that would ensure their survival rather than their destruction. The communications officer turned from her station, antennae quivering. "Commander, I'm detecting signals from the other vessels. All ships present and accounted for. No casualties reported." She paused, mandibles clicking in confusion. And something else. A message, embedded in our primary systems, written in perfect Imperial standard. On the main screen, glowing in the distinctive green of Zentari text, appeared words that would forever change the Empire's understanding of their place in the cosmos. "War is a failure of imagination. Here is a world suited to your needs, freely given rather than taken. Learn from this mercy what your weapons could never teach you." Lyrax stared at the message, feeling the foundations of her warrior culture tremble beneath a profound realization. They had not been defeated. They had been educated. Eleanor felt her pulse quicken as she accessed the secure terminal, entering a 16-digit code that changed every 12 hours. The hieroglyphics from the Tunguska site filled the screen, symbols that had defied conventional translation for decades until she developed an algorithm based on quantum communication principles rather than linguistic patterns. "Look at this particular sequence," she said, highlighting a series of intricate symbols that resembled mathematical equations more than language. "We originally thought it was describing a weapons system, but I'm now convinced it's explaining a transportation method, a way to fold space-time around objects without destroying them. James leaned closer, his skepticism evident, but professional curiosity piqued. Even if you're right, Ellie, this is well beyond cutting-edge physics. We're talking about technology that violates our understanding of conservation of mass and energy. Or perhaps our understanding is incomplete, she countered, pulling up another file, this one containing energy readings from the most recent disappearance. Look at these quantum fluctuations. They're identical to theoretical models of Einstein-Rosen bridges, but localized and controlled with impossible precision. The terminal chimed again, this time an alert rather than a call. A new data packet had arrived from the Deep Space Monitoring Station at Mauna Kea. Eleanor opened it immediately, her eyes widening as she scanned the contents. James, we've got something new. An audio fragment, captured at the moment the fleet vanished. She tapped a command, and the observatory's speakers emitted a strange sequence of clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones, unlike anything produced by human vocal cords or instruments. The sound was brief, barely 3 seconds, but contained patterns of such complexity that both scientists instinctively recognized it as language. Computer, Eleanor commanded, run this through the xenolinguistic analysis protocol. The system processed for several seconds before responding. Analysis complete. Pattern matches theoretical models for information-dense communication. Estimated data transfer rate, approximately 570 terabytes per second. James stared at the speakers in shock. That's not possible. Human brains can't process information at even a fraction of that speed. Who said it was meant for human recipients? Eleanor whispered, a chill running down her spine, despite the climate-controlled environment. The terminal screen flickered, then displayed a message that neither of them had initiated. Asterisk proceed to Cheyenne Mountain Complex immediately. Transport awaiting at helipad. Security clearance upgraded to Cosmic Horizon level asterisk. Eleanor gathered her tablet and the secure data drives, moving with the practiced efficiency of someone accustomed to urgent summons. James followed her toward the exit, but she stopped him with a gentle hand on his shoulder. This is solo mission, James. Cosmic Horizon clearance is something else entirely. His expression fell. You're going alone. After working on this together for 3 years. I'll push for your clearance once I'm there, she promised. But right now, I think they're calling me in because of my translation algorithm. The message we captured. I think it wasn't from the alien fleet. Then whoa, James began, before understanding dawned in his eyes. You think it's from whatever is defending Earth? Eleanor nodded gravely. And I think it's finally ready to talk to us directly. As she hurried toward the helipad, where a nondescript black helicopter was already powering up, Eleanor couldn't shake the feeling that humanity stood at the threshold of something beyond their comprehension. The stars had always seemed silent and distant, but now she understood the truth. The void wasn't empty. It was watching, waiting, and perhaps in its own way, protecting. Hammond's weathered face tightened as he studied the readouts from the incoming signal. Dr. Kari, what's your assessment? Samira adjusted her glasses, dark curls falling across her forehead, as she leaned closer to the quantum imaging display. It's definitely not Centauri in origin. The pattern recognition software identifies it as Concord Diplomatic Protocol, essentially a cosmic white flag. Eleanor moved closer to the central platform, drawn to the mysteriously distorted space at its center. The fold engine, as they called it, seemed to pulse in response to her proximity, its rainbow-like reflections intensifying. They're sending diplomats instead of warriors, Hammond mused. That's a first. It was inevitable, Samira replied. 7 missing fleets is beyond coincidence. They want answers. Eleanor turned to them, her scientific mind already racing with implications. The Centauri were relocated unharmed. Do we know where the others were sent? Hammond nodded toward a star map dominating the eastern wall. 17 points of light pulsed in different colors, each representing a displacement event. Each species was transported to a system suited to their particular biology and social structure. Not random, carefully selected alternatives. The fold engine doesn't just defend, Samira explained, her voice filled with professional awe. It evaluates intent, capability, even potential. It's more than a weapon or a shield. It's a cosmic mediator. A young technician approached, her uniform bearing the distinctive patch of Project Guardian, a stylized Earth protected by curved lines representing folded space. General, the diplomatic vessel has altered course precisely as instructed. They're heading for Mars orbit. Prepare the contact team, Hammond ordered. Dr. Chen, I want you leading the delegation. Eleanor blinked in surprise. Me? I'm an astrophysicist, not a diplomat. Hammond's expression softened slightly. You're the one who first recognized the pattern. You translated the Tunguska symbols. The fold engine responds to you in ways we don't fully understand. Before Eleanor could respond, the fold engine pulsed dramatically, its central distortion expanding briefly before contracting again. The facility's lights flickered, and every screen in the chamber suddenly displayed the same image. The approaching alien vessel, rendered in perfect detail despite being millions of kilometers away. It's scanning them, Samira whispered, evaluating. Text scrolled across the screens in multiple languages, settling finally on English. Asterisk dipelomediki in TNT, CONFIRED. 17 species repiwariznt. Technological LEVL. Advanced. Threat ASSESSNIANT. Minimal. Recommendation. Limited DISCOSUR. Supervised CONTACT. Asterisk. The technicians exchanged glances of amazement. Though the fold engine had been active for decades, direct communications like this were unprecedented. Eleanor approached the platform again, feeling an inexplicable connection to the ancient technology. You want us to meet them, to explain what you've been doing. The response appeared immediately. Asterisk, humanity, muse to speak. IANT shield. URETEVORC asterisk. Hammond stepped forward. Dr. Chen, Dr. Curry, Admiral Rice, Dr. Patel and myself will make contact on Mars. Neutral ground, away from the fold engine's primary location. Eleanor felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Humanity's first official contact with an advanced galactic civilization would be shaped by what they chose to reveal and what they kept hidden. What exactly do we tell them? She asked quietly. Hammond's answer was simple but profound. The truth, but not all of it. That Earth is protected not by human weapons or ingenuity, but by something that chose us. Something that sees potential in humanity that we're only beginning to understand ourselves. After the formal session adjourned, Chancellor Elodin retreated to his private chambers aboard the massive Concorde station. Unlike the public meeting spaces designed to accommodate all member species, these rooms reflected the Arcturian aesthetic. Minimalist furnishings that seemed to float above the floor, walls that shifted color based on the occupants' biorhythms, and gravity calibrated to the precise conditions of the Arcturian homeworld. A soft chime announced the arrival of Admiral Thrix. The Merloni officer entered with the peculiar rolling gait of an aquatic species adapting to land movement, her scaled skin glistening beneath the ambient lighting. The Harmony leaves within the hour, she reported. The crew selections have been finalized. Our best scientists, linguists, and cultural specialists. Elodin gestured toward a holographic display showing Earth's solar system and the security complement. Minimal. As agreed, 4 Kezari Rangers, unarmed except for personal defense shields. We're approaching as seekers, not conquerors. The Chancellor's elongated fingers manipulated the display, zooming in on Earth itself, a swirling marble of blue and white against the blackness of space. Such an unremarkable world to cause such remarkable events. Thrix moved closer, her head frills expanding slightly in contemplation. What aren't you telling the full council, Chancellor? You pushed for this diplomatic approach with unusual conviction. Elodin's translucent features revealed little, but his voice softened. The Arcturian archives contain records dating back 17 million years. Admiral, there are legends of entities that existed beyond conventional physical laws, guardians of cosmic balance that would occasionally intervene when developing civilizations reached critical junctures. Myths and folklore, Fricks dismissed, though her tone lacked certainty. Perhaps, yet in each account, these entities operated not through destruction, but through redirection, creating what our ancestors called paths untaken, alternative journeys for those who might otherwise bring catastrophe. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. You believe Earth hosts such an entity? I believe, Elodin said carefully, that sending battleships against such a force would be like attacking a stellar nursery with a stone knife, not just futile, but profoundly misguided. A subtle vibration passed through the station, the distinctive feeling of a vessel detaching from the docking ring. On the holographic display, a small icon representing the Harmony separated from the Concord station, beginning its journey toward the mysterious blue planet. The Zentari will not be satisfied with diplomatic overtures, Fricks warned. They've lost their flagship fleet. Their warrior culture demands retribution. Their warrior culture, Elodin countered, has led them to lose 7 scout missions and their premier battle group without a single shot being fired. Perhaps it is time for them to consider alternative approaches. As the Admiral departed, Elodin turned back to the holographic display, zooming out to show not just Earth's solar system, but the surrounding sector. Something about the arrangement of nearby stars caught his attention, a pattern too perfect to be random. With growing wonder, he realized that from this precise perspective, the stellar configuration matched an ancient Arcturian symbol meaning cradle of potential. Coordinate display shift to view from galactic core, he commanded softly. The hologram rotated, showing the same region from a different angle. From this new perspective, the stars formed another ancient symbol, protected boundary. Elodin stood motionless, the implications washing over him like a cosmic tide. Whatever waited at Earth wasn't random, wasn't accidental. It had been there for millions of years, patiently arranging the very stars themselves to mark its domain for those wise enough to read the signs. The atmosphere aboard the Harmony grew tense as the human vessel completed its docking procedures. The airlock cycled with a soft hiss, pressure equalizing between the two ships. Captain Nix had positioned a welcome party of diverse species, a gesture of openness and cooperation, but also stationed security personnel discreetly nearby, their defensive shields powered but not activated. When the inner door finally slid open, revealing the 5 humans, the alien delegation couldn't help but register surprise. These creatures were physically unimposing. No natural weapons, no protective exoskeletons, no visible adaptations for harsh environments. Yet they carried themselves with quiet confidence, neither fearful nor aggressive. "Welcome aboard the Harmony," Captain Nix greeted, her translator converting her melodic, bird-like speech into the human language called English. "I am Captain Nix of the Galactic Concord." Dr. Eleanor Chen stepped forward. "Thank you for your welcome, Captain. We appreciate your peaceful approach." Ambassador Elodin studied the humans carefully, noting their physiological responses, slightly elevated heart rates, minor perspiration, dilated pupils. Standard stress markers for first contact situations, yet remarkably controlled. Nothing about these beings suggested they possessed technology capable of redirecting entire battle fleets. "You know why we've come," he stated directly. Eleanor nodded. "To discover what happened to the missing fleets and to determine if Earth represents a threat to galactic stability." Science officer Zora moved closer, her analytical instruments discreetly scanning the humans. "Our sensors detect no unusual technology on your persons or vessel, yet you speak our language fluently and anticipated our arrival precisely." General Hammond stepped forward, his military bearing evident despite the civilian clothing. "We should continue this conversation en route to Earth." There are things you need to see rather than hear described. Elodin's eyes narrowed slightly. The datapad you showed us. An image from our closed council session. How was it obtained? Eleanor exchanged glances with her colleagues before responding. The same technology that relocates hostile fleets can create small viewing portals. We've been observing the Concord for some time. A ripple of unease passed through the alien delegation. The implications were staggering. A surveillance capability that could bypass all known security measures, operating across vast interstellar distances. You understand our concern, Captain Nix said, feathers slightly raised in the Avaran equivalent of alarm. Such technology could be used for espionage, assassination, or worse. Dr. Curry, who had remained silent until now, spoke with the measured calm of a scientist addressing colleagues. If domination were our goal, would we have relocated your fleets rather than destroying them? Would we meet you openly rather than infiltrating your worlds? The logic was undeniable, though it did little to dispel the growing unease. Ambassador Elodin made his decision, signaling subtly to Captain Nix. "We will accompany you to Earth," he announced. "A delegation of 5 to match your own." As the two groups prepared to board the Earth vessel, communications specialist Trell approached Elodin privately. "Chancellor, I've been analyzing their language patterns. There's something unusual. When they speak of this technology, their pronouns shift subtly. Sometimes we, sometimes it. Almost as if they're speaking of something separate from themselves." Elodin finished, his ancient eyes reflecting centuries of diplomatic experience. Something they work with rather than control. The implications settled over him like a mantle of both hope and concern. If these humans were not the masters of this power but its partners, or perhaps even its students, then the coming revelation might be far more profound than anyone in the Concord had anticipated. The massive chamber fell into profound silence as the Guardian's bioluminescent pulses created patterns of light that danced across the faces of the assembled delegates. Each visitor experienced not just visual stimulation, but a form of direct neural communication, images and concepts flowing into their consciousness like water finding its level. Science Officer Zora was the first to recover, her analytical mind processing the experience with remarkable speed. "It's a symbiotic intelligence," she whispered, compound eyes wide with revelation. "Not machine. Not organic. Something beyond our classification systems. It crashed here during the last extinction event," Eleanor confirmed. "We believe it was damaged during an interstellar journey. Earth became both its refuge and its rehabilitation environment." Ambassador Elodin stepped closer to the containment field, his ancient eyes reflecting the pulsing lights. "And it chose to contact your species specifically. Why not the dominant life forms of earlier epochs?" Dr. Curry answered, her voice reflecting the awe she still felt despite years working with the entity. "It seems to have been dormant, for lack of a better term. Healing. Integrating with Earth's biosphere on a fundamental level. The Tunguska event wasn't a crash. It was an awakening." Captain Nix's feathers ruffled in agitation. "You expect us to believe that humans, a pre-FTL species barely united as a planetary civilization, somehow earned the trust of a cosmic entity beyond our comprehension?" General Hammond's weathered face showed a brief flash of tired amusement. "Not earned, Captain. We were convenient, present at the right moment in the Guardian's recovery cycle. In many ways, we're as surprised by this partnership as you are." The Guardian pulsed again, and this time the communication was clearer, more structured, directed specifically at the alien delegation. "Asterisk I observe, I evaluate, I redirect asterisk." Ambassador Elodin's translator rendered the concepts into Arcturian philosophical frameworks. It perceives itself as a cosmic course correction mechanism, a force that diverts rather than destroys. Eleanor nodded. "Exactly. The ships that approached Earth with hostile intent weren't destroyed. They were given alternatives. New worlds suited to their needs. Different paths to explore. Asterisk violence is inefficient. Destruction wastes potential. I preserve balance by creating new equilibriums *. Communication specialist Trell's bioluminescent skin flickered rapidly as he processed the implications. This being can move entire fleets across vast distances instantaneously. Such technology would revolutionize galactic travel, eliminate resource conflicts, solve overpopulation crises, which is precisely why we've approached this partnership with extreme caution. Dr. Curry interjected. The Guardian doesn't share technology. It shares perspective. It offers alternatives rather than solutions. Admiral Thrix, who had maintained stoic silence throughout the encounter, finally spoke. And what does it want in return for this? Protection. The chamber darkened momentarily before illuminating with a display of Earth's evolutionary history. From simple single-celled organisms to the present day, compressed into a flowing timeline that emphasized not just physical development but cultural milestones. The first tools, the first art, the first expressions of empathy beyond kin groups. I learned from watching choices made. Earth species balance competition with cooperation, destruction with creation, intellect with compassion. This balance intrigues me *. The alien delegation exchanged glances, the full implications slowly dawning on them. The Guardian wasn't Earth's weapon or shield. It was a cosmic observer that had chosen humanity's homeworld as its vantage point. And humans weren't its masters or servants, but fellow travelers on an evolutionary journey that the entity found fascinating. It's studying us, Ambassador Illidan whispered. All of us. Our conflicts, our resolutions, our choices. The Galactic Concord's emergency session entered its fourth day, with delegates from all 17 civilizations showing signs of fatigue. The Chamber's environmental systems struggled to maintain optimal conditions for such diverse biologies, the silicon-based Litharians requiring intense heat, while the methane-breathing Vordax needed near-freezing temperatures. Yet despite physical discomfort, no one suggested adjournment. What they had learned from Earth changed everything. The Guardian entity represents a paradigm shift in our understanding of cosmic development, Chancellor Illidan stated, his normally reserved manner giving way to evident excitement. Its ability to create stable Einstein-Rosen bridges across vast distances without massive energy expenditure contradicts our most fundamental physics. The Zentari ambassador, Klivak, clicked his mandibles in the species' gesture of reluctant agreement. Our preliminary analysis of the returned fleet confirms it. They experienced no time dilation during transfer, no acceleration trauma, no disruption to biological processes. One moment they were near Earth, the next near Proxima Centauri. 12,000 light-years displaced instantly. Murmurs rippled through the chamber as the implications sank in. FTL travel existed throughout the Concorde, but it required enormous energy, caused significant time dilation, and could never transport objects as massive as entire fleets without catastrophic side effects. We must establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth immediately, urged the representative from the aquatic Merloni Confederacy, their voice bubbling through a translation device. Such technology could eliminate resource scarcity across known space. No more competition for habitable worlds, no more costly terraforming projects. The atmosphere shifted as Ambassador Gutter of the enigmatic Vex Collective rose from his meditation posture. The Vex rarely spoke in council sessions, their hive-mind consciousness preferring observation to participation. Their intervention now commanded immediate attention. You misunderstand the fundamental nature of this entity, Gutter stated, multiple voices overlapping in the characteristic Vex speech pattern. It does not share technology. It shares perspective. It offers alternatives, not solutions. Silence fell across the chamber as the Vex ambassador continued. For countless cycles, the collective has observed patterns in cosmic development. Civilizations that acquire technological leaps without corresponding philosophical evolution invariably self-destruct within 3 generations. The Guardian recognizes this pattern. Admiral Thrix nodded slowly, her scales shimmering in the chamber's light. The humans were clear about this. The Guardian doesn't offer weapons or tools. It offers choices. It redirects rather than empowers. Chancellor Elodin manipulated the central display, showing the proposal he had spent days crafting with input from the Harmony mission team. We recommend Earth be classified as an emergent symbiotic civilization, a new designation acknowledging their unique status. No military vessels would approach without prior authorization. Scientific and cultural exchanges would proceed under careful protocols. The Zentari ambassador's compound eyes focused on the display. And our lost fleets. The other ships that have been redirected. The Guardian has indicated willingness to return displaced vessels, provided their civilizations enter non-aggression pacts with Earth. Elodin's voice carried the weight of centuries of diplomatic experience. Not submission, not alliance, simply an agreement to pursue dialogue over conquest. The council chamber fell silent as representatives contemplated the implications. For millennia, the Concord had classified civilizations by technological development, resource control, and military capability. Earth defied this taxonomy. A pre-FTL species with access to power beyond comprehension, yet choosing redirection over domination. We are not voting merely on classification, Elodin said softly. We are acknowledging a fundamental truth. Technological power and wisdom are not the same. The humans and their guardian remind us of this distinction at a crucial moment in our shared history. Ambassador Eleanor Chen stood on the observation platform of Concordance Station, watching Earth rotate serenely below. The massive space station, a collaborative effort between 17 alien civilizations and humanity, orbited at the precise coordinates where the first Zentari ships had been relocated, a symbolic acknowledgement of transformation rather than conflict. 5 years, she murmured to herself. 5 years since first contact. Those years had reshaped human civilization in ways both subtle and profound. Carefully regulated technology exchanges had accelerated development without causing societal disruption. Diseases once considered incurable yielded to new approaches combining alien biochemistry with human ingenuity. Energy concerns vanished as Guardian-inspired systems provided clean, nearly limitless power without the environmental costs of earlier methods. Yet the most significant changes were philosophical rather than technological. Humanity had been forced to reconsider its place in the cosmos, not as conquerors or even equals, but as students with a unique perspective valued by an entity beyond comprehension. Ambassador Chen, a familiar voice, chittered behind her. Your thoughts seem distant as the stars themselves. Eleanor turned to find Klovac, once the fiercest advocate for military action against Earth, now the Zentari's foremost diplomat. His exoskeleton, once midnight black for war, now bore the iridescent green markings of a peace envoy. Just reflecting on how quickly everything has changed, she replied. 5 years ago, your fleet was preparing to conquer us. Today we're building this station together. Klovac's compound eyes reflected the Earth below. The colony world where the Guardian Centaur fleet flourishes beyond expectations. 2 new cities established, resources abundant, no competition with other species. His mandibles clicked in what Eleanor had learned was thoughtful appreciation. A better path than conquest, though we needed redirection to see it. The Guardian doesn't solve problems, Eleanor said, echoing the entity's own philosophy. It creates alternatives. Their conversation was interrupted by the station's announcement system. All delegates to Central Chamber. The Guardian Avatar will arrive momentarily. The Central Chamber filled quickly with representatives from dozens of worlds, including 10 new associate members beyond the original Concord. Eleanor took her place on the raised platform alongside Chancellor Elodin and the other founding architects of the new Galactic Order. A soft hum filled the chamber as a sphere of gently pulsing light materialized in the center of the room. The Guardian's avatar, its first manifestation beyond Earth, floated serenely before the assembled delegates. When it spoke, each being heard the message in their native language, transported directly into their consciousness with perfect clarity. Asterisk, the void between stars is not empty, but full of possibilities. Each civilization faces the same choice upon reaching for those stars: to grab, to take, to conquer, or to explore, to learn, to connect. Humanity stands at this threshold with the wisdom to recognize that strength and gentleness are not opposing forces, but complementary ones. Eleanor felt a familiar mental touch, the guardian connecting directly with her, as it often did during their work together beneath the Antarctic ice. A private message followed the public one. Your species questions whether you were chosen or merely convenient. The answer is both, and neither. In the cosmic tapestry, threads connect in patterns too complex for individual consciousness to perceive. Humanity's path crossed mine when both were ready for the encounter. As the ceremony concluded, Eleanor found herself standing beside an elderly Arcturian physicist whose work on dimensional mathematics had helped unravel some of the Guardian's more accessible principles. "A question has bothered me since first contact," the physicist said softly. "Why would an entity with the power to fold spacetime and redirect entire fleets need humanity at all?" Eleanor smiled, watching the diverse species mingling peacefully in the chamber. Perhaps the ability to rearrange matter across cosmos is simple, but understanding why and when to do so is the true challenge. Perhaps the Guardian needed witnesses, interpreters, not for its power, but for its purpose.